Do you remember the Battle of Camp Nou? Me neither. But this is how the newspaper Marca has described Rubin Kazan's victory at Camp Nou on the 20th of October 2009. That FC Barcelona team was none other than Pep Guardiola's, packed with players like Lionel Messi, Xavi or Andres Iniesta among others. You might have heard of them. Kurban Berdyev's Rubin Kazan stunned them 2-1 on that day. Recently, I received a message asking me to look at Kurban Berdyev's tactical principles and try to recreate them in Football Manager 2024. Ashamed, I first googled Kurban Berdyev. No worries, you'll find out soon enough too. The funny thing is that I watched some of the matches the teams managed by him played in Europe against teams like FC Barcelona, Ajax or Bayern, but I never stopped to think about who the manager was. I accepted trying to recreate the tactic in the game, and our hero, Shikajin, sent me a few articles to research. So, I started to try to recreate the tactic in Football Manager 2024. Once I recreated the tactic in the game, I implemented two versions of it, one at Manchester City and one at Southampton, the best team in the Premier League in the past decade and arguably the worst team in this season's Premier League. Two versions were needed as I had to see a more attacking tactical version and a more defensive one. And this was the result. But before I reveal it, let's talk a bit about Kurban Berdyev. Kurban Berdyev is a Turkmen-Russian football manager and a former Soviet footballer who is currently in charge of the Azerbaijani club Turanto Vuz. For reference, Turanto Vuz sit 4th in the Azerbaijani Premier League, ahead of clubs like Neftchi Baku or Sumqayit, who regularly make it to European football in MyFan saves. In 2017, Berdyev was included among top 50 managers in the world by 442.com at the 36th place, ahead of Brendan Rodgers. He started his footballing career with FK Kopedag Ashgabat, a club in Turkmenistan. He joined their professional team in 1971. By 1985, when he retired, he moved clubs a bit and earned 396 senior appearances, scoring 60 goals. He started his managerial career in 1986 and moved clubs a lot before having a breakthrough with Rubin Kazan. He managed Rubin for 15 years, the first time for 13 years and the second spell for 2 years. It was the first spell that helped him make a name for himself as a football manager. In between his two spells with Rubin Kazan, Kurban Berdyev managed FC Rostov, a club he took from the relegation battle straight to the UEFA Champions League. Actually, both teams earned surprise results in their country and in Europe. Rubin Kazan's Premier Division titles at the time are owed to Kurban Berdyev's masterful tactical principles and club management. Even though he took over the club in 2001, it was in 2008 and 2009 when his team won the Premier Division alongside the Domestic Cup and the Domestic Super Cup between 2011 and 2012. Amazingly, in 2013, he was dismissed from Rubin, which gave him the opportunity to shine with FC Rostov. He took over the club while they were battling in the relegation zone and moved them as high as the UEFA Champions League places in the span of a season, finishing second in the league. His tactical approach is what makes his team's football so special. It looks simple, but in reality, it's really hard to implement. I would imagine in real life too, but in the game for sure. When you go to his Football Manager 2024 profile, you notice a 5-3-2 formation cited as his preferred one, and the tendencies listed on his profile describe his tactical principles best. A few people try to recreate his tactic in the game, and I will leave the links in the description for reference and support. The 5-3-2 or 3-5-2 formation helps the team sit deep, actively waiting for the moment to recover the ball and spring on the counter. Managing underdog teams, especially between 2011 and 2017, helped Berdyev's team to take full advantage of the counter-attack style. However, having fitting players for this style is crucial. The counter-attack can start from wherever on the pitch. It is very important that when the ball is recovered, to move fast up the pitch and try to score the goal as soon as possible. A solid defense is needed for this playing style to be successful. The back three are thought to be either 3 central defenders on defend duty, a wide center back and 2 central defenders, or a ball-playing defender and 2 central defenders. All 3 options could work in the game. The important thing is to place the ball-playing defender in the middle of the defense, so the central defenders would also focus on covering for the wingbacks that would go up the pitch when the team is in possession. The wingbacks are a bit more complicated to assign roles to in the game. For example, for FC Rostov, Fyodor Kudryashov on the left side often operated as a more defensive wingback, going up the pitch in the rhythm of play. This points to a standard wingback on support duty. However, there were times when he cut inside to the midfield areas, so this points to an inverted wingback. To make sure you cover both options, you could ask the player here to cut inside with the ball or help him develop a player trait for cutting inside. On the right side, the player seems to have had more freedom to move up the pitch, which points to a wingback on attack, or if you have a player fit for the role, a complete wingback. But if you manage an FC Rostov type of team, I would not recommend a complete wingback, as in the match engine, this role tends to regroup slowly, so it might disrupt the defensive shape. As a defensive midfielder, you need the Gennaro Gattuso type of player, and the role for it might be a ball-winning midfielder one, as I used for Southampton, or a halfback as I used for Manchester City. Nevertheless, you need a player and a role capable of disrupting the opposition's build-up play, recovering the ball efficiently and passing it to the teammates as soon as possible. The right-sided central midfielder seemed to be the passing hub of the SC Rostov team, recycling the ball and finding his teammates with pinpoint passes. A fitting role for this would be the deep line playmaker on support duty. As the left-sided central midfielder, I went with a box-to-box midfielder. This player will be a passing option when the team builds up play and will go up in attack as the ball progresses, arriving late in the opposition's area. And the forward duo, at least in this game's edition, for me, cannot have other roles assigned than a deep line forward on support duty and an advanced forward. Of course, there are multiple role combinations that could be done here. The important thing, in my opinion, is to ask one of the strikers to come deep and collect the ball, and the other one to stretch the defense and move into channels. This way, disrupting the opposition's defensive shape. As mentality, I chose positive in the Manchester City version of the tactic. If you are a team that sits closer to the relegation zone than the European places, it might be worth starting with a cautious mentality and move up to positive as the match progresses. Fairly wide attacking width and passing to space. Play out of defense, though this is not really required. It's a way to keep possession of the ball in the game. Shorter passing diagonals and a slightly higher tempo, and run a defense if you are the dominating team. If not, tick this off and the team will do it if the opportunity is there. In transition, counter and distribute the ball quickly. And out of possession, a mid-block and a standard defensive line. Trigger press slightly more often, get stuck in and trap outside. This helps the team to actively stick to the opposition's players when they build up and press when the opportunity arises. Be careful that the get stuck in option helps your players recover the ball often, but it also increases the chances of them being booked. So, if you have an aggressive team, it might be worth taking this off. As mentioned, I simulated a season with both Manchester City and Southampton to see how different versions of the tactic play in the game. The results were good, and with more time and engagement, they could be better. I like counter-attacking football, especially when it's executed correctly in the game. These two versions of the tactic might not be perfect, but they get close to Kurban Berdyev's playing style at times, and there are fellow football managers enthusiasts out there that try to find ways to make it work better. Thank you again, Shikajin, for your engagement and patience. Kurban Berdyev may have been unknown to me until recently, but his teams and the playing style weren't. And I hope more football managers will adopt and develop this style of play in the future.